They're off.
And here we go, the Armageddon in the final.
Okay, so a king's pawn opening. Magnus Carlsen opening with the Italian game. We've seen him do this plenty of times before. He tends to do this in must-win situations. It's brought in many wins against Nakamura. White castling the king, black pushing the pawn, but I expect to see black's king castle as well very shortly. Magnus's strategy is to keep the pieces on the board. That's clear from this opening. He would have gone for something else, a different opening, if that wasn't his plan. So now black has castled. Magnus just planning maybe a way to maintain maximum tension. And Wesley playing quickly up to this point, only spent 9 seconds. Magnus a bit more, pushing now pawns on that left flank. He has to make Wesley, he has to give him decisions. That's the key thing. He's pushing pawns, trying to trap black's bishop.
Yeah, and Wesley just pushes pawn 1 square forward. Totally agree with you there. The pieces must stay on the board. And one thing that I've noticed Magnus really likes is he loves to expand as much as possible with the pawns on the left side, and Wesley reinforcing the centre whilst... what is White going to do? Just push 1 pawn forward or start the big re-manoeuvre of the pieces?
Whatever Magnus does, he shouldn't be in creative mood right now. His time advantage is almost gone already. He's only 20 seconds up on the clock now. He shouldn't be trying to be too creative. Reacting is actually easier in chess. It's quicker to do that. And, OK, black bringing his knight back there. I expect to see White re-manoeuvre, as you mentioned, Jovanka.
Yeah.
No, he expands in the middle of the board. This position, I'm pretty sure I've seen this or something very similar, at least, before in the past. Magnus creating maximum tension in the middle and Wesley trading a set of pawns. Will we see Wesley so advanced in the centre? Actually, I think I've had this exact position myself before in St. Louis a couple of years ago as black, and it didn't go well after White pushed his central pawn like that. Suddenly, Wesley's knight has to run away from the centre. You can take White's bishop on the left side, but White's pawn would take the black knight and actually explode open black's king position. When I had this in the past, I was terrified with black. Black is under the attack at this early stage, and Magnus starting to build up that lead on the clock again.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that you can notice is that with the white pawn so far advanced, the white bishop can actually drop down just 1 square towards the centre, and then it's on the perfect diagonal.
Wesley has frozen. There's no time in Armageddon chess for a think of over 30 seconds. Suddenly, he's been caught out in this opening. Magnus has tricked him, and suddenly black needs to move that knight. Just move it. You need to find a safe square, any square at this point, but more than 1 minute down on the clock, Wesley.
To the edge of the board. OK, and Magnus drops his bishop all the way down to the bottom. I'm a little bit concerned about that knight being on the edge, because look at it on the eye line of the queen. OK, so Wesley rerouting the knight, but this does give time, and a knight now jumping into the attack, and all the time Magnus is ahead on the clock, putting pressure on the position.
Black's knights, they have jumped around, they are defending each other, but they will get kicked back sooner or later. So Magnus just gaining space first, gaining some time by pushing the black pieces backwards. I expect to see Magnus at some point. Not yet, but he will lift up his rook in the corner. He loves to do this, Magnus Carlsen. He'll move up his rook in the corner 3 squares, and he'll try and bring it across to the right side of the board. Long term, he's going to go for the attack. But OK, he needs to continue playing quickly. Magnus now having a bit of a think.
Yeah, and Wesley there talking to himself, just kind of like, come on, what am I doing? Let me refocus and readjust to the situation. And, yeah, we see a trade, and now I'm dying to know whether this rook will lift itself up. Magnus attacking the knight, so we expect the knight to, well, move behind. OK, he moves back to where it came from. I wasn't expecting that choice. Yeah,
the knight maybe had a better square in the centre. Now Magnus stepping forward with his knight. So White has given up his dark square. Bishop traded it off. But now White has complete domination on those dark squares with his pawns. Wesley challenging the centre. He's just trying to pose problems for Magnus. But that knight getting kicked around again. Yeah. Magnus threatening their black knight now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, just look at that bishop. It is a monster. I mean, this is just instructive. Look at that pawn, that central pawn on e5 and that bishop. Those are a perfect attacking duo. And that is why Wesley desperately tries to close up the position. And now the onus is on Magnus. The time advantage isn't that great, though.
Yeah, Magnus, he's got a fantastic position on the board. I would say, actually, strategically, White is just winning. This is complete dominance right now, but the clock situation, that could come back to save Wesley if he's able to continue playing quickly and eat away at Magnus's time advantage. OK, Magnus just stepping forward. All the white pawns now on dark squares. Great setup now for White. Black can barely move, actually. Black needs to maybe bring the black knight back away to a safer square, retreat that. Magnus,
I was going to suggest just take that knight off the board. And he does, but it cost him time. Just under 2.5 minutes against under 2 minutes.
Look at how bad Black's bishop is. It's just doing the job of a big pawn. It's just protecting things. It's never going to be on a great diagonal. Black's knight as well, misplaced. Magnus needs to start attacking with his rook. There we go, on an open line, attacking some of Black's weak pawns. Still fantastic position for Magnus. I feel like the clock's going to decide this one, though. It's going to come down to a mad scramble at the end. There's still so many pieces, so much tension on the board.
And there's your rook lift, David. The rook moving 3 squares just so that it can double along and attack the pawn. And Magnus quickly applying the pressure. And now it is that pawn, the pawn on f5, that is within its sights.
Yeah, White's knight eyeing up targets. Maybe it will even drop back and reroute itself. There we go. The White knight dropping back. It's aiming towards better squares. It's going to try and jump forward again and then attack Black's bishop. Wesley shaking his head. He's slowed down the pace. He's still 40 seconds down on the clock.
And he retreats his bishop. I mean, that does feel like a concession. And, well, Magnus pushing his pawn there. OK, but is there some chances now that there is a bit of a sneaky move there by Wesley?
Yeah, I'm surprised that Magnus allowed this trade of bishops. If it does happen, it does happen. I'm surprised Magnus allowed that because Black was cramped. Any trades will actually free up Black's position, but Magnus is so dominant maybe that he is OK with that trade. Black's knight attacking some pawns, White's queen defending them. White's knight, expect that piece to do the heavy lifting now.
Yeah, and now the fireworks appear on the board as Wesley goes completely crazy on the right side.
Look at White's pawn formation, though, completely blocking off Black. Any active plans that Black had. Black's king stepping forward. Magnus can just capture a pawn, I think.
Yeah.
That looks like a free pawn. White can just play pawn takes pawn on the right side of the board. Wesley, big trouble now on the board and on the clock still.
Yeah, well, 53 seconds and ticking down, whilst Magnus has just under 1.5 minutes. I agree with you. Wesley is in big trouble, but still everything to play for.
Still everything to play for. At least he's got one piece active. The Black rook now finding a really nice square, eyeing up the White king indirectly. Magnus bringing his queen across.
But that's a bit strange. I mean,
allowing Black's knight to jump forward and capture a pawn.
Exactly.
Okay, Magnus, has he calculated this one correctly? Black does take that pawn. White's queen also capturing. Suddenly, whose king is weaker? I don't know. I'm not sure if the players know either. In Armageddon chess, in Blitz chess, king safety is everything. It's paramount. Yeah. White's queen, however, very active. Magnus going for the kill now. He's pushing his pawn forward.
Yeah, well, this is a nice move by Wesley, you know, offering to trade queens. But 28 seconds to complete the rest of his... Wesley's not going to make it.
Yeah, I think he's going to lose on the clock, Wesley. If he doesn't lose on the board, he still needs to save it on the board, especially after that last move, White's rook getting active. Wesley's smiling. He knows it's going to be all over soon. 20 seconds and Magnus wins.
Wow, look at that. Magnus Carlsen in Armageddon finally beats Wesley. So, and look at that reaction. That is huge.